You know, when seven of the greatest athletes in any sport get together, there's an unofficial nickname for them. It all comes back to the Ottawa entry in not say pro hockey, but elite hockey of the early 1900s. The Ottawa HC squad had seven of the greatest hockey players or team players that hockey had ever seen at the time. This was a dynasty that Ottawa HC had dominated Stanley Cup play, dominated the leagues they play in. And unofficially, the seven key players on the team were called the Ottawa Silver Seven. Now, the first dynasty of the Ottawa HC between 1903 and 06, when the team again was known by that moniker. The era started with the arrival of the great Frank McGee for the 1903 season and ended with his retirement after the 1906 campaign. Having lost an eye in local amateur hockey, he was persuaded, despite the threat of permanent blindness, to join the Ottawa Senators, or Ottawa HC. The youngest player on the team, and standing 5'6", and less than maybe 150 pounds, he went on to score 135 goals in 45 games. In a 1905 challenge against Dawson City, which we'll talk about in a little while, he scored 14 goals in a 23-2 win. He retired in 1906 at the old age of 23. Now, in the 1903 CAHL season, Ottawa and the Montreal Victorias both finished in first place with 6-2 records. The top scorers were the Victorias' Russell Bowie, who scored 7 goals in one game and 6 in another, and McGee, whose top performance saw him score 5 goals in the game. Now, the two clubs faced off in a 2-game total goal series to decide the league title and the Stanley Cup. The first game, played in Montreal on slushy ice that made it a desperate struggle to score, ended in a 1-1 deadlock. The return match in Ottawa, witnessed by 3,000 people, was on ice coated with an inch of water. The conditions did not hinder Ottawa as he won 8-0, with McGee getting a hat-trick, and the other 5 shared among the 3 Gilmore brothers. Dave had 3, Suddy had 1, and Bill had 1 to win their first cup. To start a period in which the team held the Stanley Cup and defeated all challengers until March 1906. Now, for that Stanley Cup win, each of the team's players was given a silver nugget by team executive Bob Shillington, an Ottawa druggist and mining investor. He gave them nuggets instead of money, since the players were still technically amateurs, and to give them money would have meant disqualification from the league. In a 1957 interview, Harry Westwick recalled that at the presentation, one of the players said, "We ought to call ourselves the Silver Seven," and the name caught on right there. At that time, hockey teams iced 7 men, a goalie, 3 forwards, and 2 defensemen, and what was called a rover. Now, the Silver Seven moved between 3 leagues during this time, and for a time were independent of any association. In February '04, during the CHL season, Ottawa resigned from the league in a dispute over the replaying of a game. The team had arrived late for a game in Montreal, and it had to be called at midnight with a tied score. The league demanded that the game be replayed. The club agreed to play only if the game mattered in the standings. The impasse led to Ottawa leaving the association. Now, for the rest of that winter, the club played only in Cup Challenge Series. Quebec won the winter championship of the league and demanded the Stanley Cup, but the Cup's trustees ruled that Ottawa still retained it. The trustees offered to arrange a challenge between Ottawa and the CAHL champion, but the CAHL refused to consider it. The next season, Ottawa joined the Federal Amateur Hockey League, or FAL, winning the league's title. The club was only in the FAL for 1 season, and the Montreal Wanderers became their new rival. For the 1906 season, Ottawa, along with the Wanderers and several of the CHL teams, formed the Eastern Canada Amateur Hockey Association, or ECAHA, unifying the top teams into one league. Now, the Silver Seven were known for many things, including their very physical play, and were known for a number of injuries that they inflicted on the other squads. Now, in the Stanley Cup Challenge game in 1904, the Ottawas injured 7 of the 9 Winnipeg players, and the Winnipeg Free Press called it the bloodiest game ever in Ottawa. The next team to challenge the Ottawas, the Toronto Marlboroughs, were similar treated. According to the Toronto Globe, the style of hockey seems to be the only one known, and people consider it quite proper and legitimate for a team to endeavor to incapacitate their opponents rather than to excel them in skill and speed. slashing, tripping, the severe kind of cross-checking, and a systematic method of hammering Marlboroughs on hand and wrists are the most effective points in Ottawa style. So it's a combination of the NHL and the European style of pretty well of the 1970s. Now, according to one player, the Marlboroughs got off very easily. When Winnipeg Rowing Club played here, most of the players were carried off on stretchers. Now, this style of hockey would continue for years to come. Now, the challenges were quite interesting. The Silver Seven also participated in perhaps the most famous Stanley Cup challenge of all, that of Dawson City of the Yukon Territory in 1905. Now organized by Joe Boyle, a Toronto-born prospector who had struck it rich in the Yukon Gold Rush of 1898. The Dawson City Nuggets had Lorne Hanna, who had played for Brandon against Ottawa in the 1984 challenge, and two former elite hockey players, Welde Young, who played for Ottawa in the 1890s, and D.R. McClellan, who had played for Queen's College against the Montreal Victorias in an 1895 challenge. The remaining players were selected from other Dawson City clubs. Dawson City's challenge was accepted in the summer of 2004 by the Stanley Cup trustees and scheduled to start on Friday, January 13th, 2005. The date of the challenge meant that Young had to travel separately to Ottawa, as he had to work in the federal election that December and would meet the club in Ottawa. Now, to get to Ottawa, several thousand miles away, the club had to go and get to Whitehorse by overland sleigh, catch a train from there to Skagway, Alaska, then catch a steamer to Vancouver, and a train from there to Ottawa. On December 18, 1904, several players set up by dog sled, and the rest left the next day by bicycle for a 330-mile trek to Whitehorse. At first, the team made good progress, but the weather turned warm enough to thaw the roads, forcing the players to walk several hundred miles. The team spent the nights in police sheds along the road. At Whitehorse, the weather turned bad, causing the trains not to run for 3 days, and the Nuggets to miss their steamer in Skagway. The next one could not dock for 3 days due to the ice buildup. The club found the sea journey treacherous, and it caused seasickness amongst the team. When the steamer reached Vancouver, the area was too fogged in to dock, and the steamer docked in Seattle. The team from there caught a train to Vancouver, for which it left on January 6, 2005, arriving in Ottawa on January 11th. Now, despite the bad journey, the Ottawas refused to change the date of the first game, only 2 days away. Ottawa arranged hospitable accommodations for Dawson City, and the Yukoners received a huge welcome at the train station, had a welcoming dinner, and used the Ottawa Amateur Athletic Club's rooms for the duration of their stay. Young did not arrive in time to play for Dawson. Now, the first game was close by the halfway mark, Ottawa leading Dawson 3-1. But in the second half, the play became violent. Norman Watt of Dawson trips Ottawa's Art Moore, who retaliated with a stick to the mouth of Watt. Now, Watt promptly knocked Moore out, hitting him on the head with his stick. The game ended 9-2 for Ottawa and left a poor taste in the mouth for the Yukoners, who complained that several goals were offside. Now, after the game, Watt was quoted as saying, "Frank McGee doesn't look like too much," as he only scored once in the first game. And we call this one of the original "don't wake 'em up" moves in hockey history. Now, McGee scored 4 goals in the first half of the second match and 10 in the second half, leading Ottawa to a 23-2 win. His 14 goals remain a record for a single game of major senior hockey. Now, 8 of those 14 goals were scored consecutively in a span of less than 9 minutes. Now, despite the high score, the newspapers claimed that Albert Forrest, the Dawson City goalie, had played a really fine game. Otherwise, the score might have been doubled. Ottawa celebrated by hosting Dawson at a banquet. After this, the players took the cup and attempted to drop kick it over the Rideau Canal. The stunt was unsuccessful as the cup landed on frozen ice and had to be retrieved the next day. Now, considering the lopsided score of the series, historians such as Paul Kitchen question why Dawson City was even granted a chance at the cup. Dawson City had won no championships and did not belong to any recognized senior league. While team official Welde Young knew Stanley Cup trustee P.D. Ross personally through their joint connection with the club, it may have been the political connections as well that Joe Boyle had with the government interior minister of the time, Clifford Sifton, that got Dawson City the series. Now, future Ottawa Senators owner Frank Ahern later stated that Welde Young had asked Ahern to ask the Ottawa players to not rub it in, as Dawson City did not expect to win. Ahern mentioned this to McGee, who had a row with Boyle when both were members of the Ottawa Rowing Club, and had not forgotten it. Now, just to recap their Stanley Cup Challenge win streak, they were dominant again for 3 years, defeated Montreal Victorious in a 2-game series to win the CHL Championship in March of 2003. They defeated the Rat Portage Thistles in a 2-game series 10-4, March 12, 14, 2003. Defeated the Winnipeg Rowing Club, best of 3, 9-1, 2-6, 2-0 on December 30th and January 1st, 03-04. Defeated Toronto Marlboroughs, 2-game series, 6-3, 11-2, February 23rd to 25th, 04. Defeated Montreal Wanderers by forfeit, tied Montreal 5-5, but the Wanderers could refuse to continue the series until the tie was replayed, and forfeited as a result. Defeated Brandon, Manitoba, 2 games total goal, 6-3, 9-3 on March 9th, 11-04. Defeated Dawson City in the best of 3, 2-0, January 13, 16-05. They won the 05 FAHL Championship with a 7-1 record. Defeated Rat Portage Thistles, best of 3, 3-9, 4-2, 5-4, March 7 to 11-05. Defeated Queen's University in a 2-game series, 16-7, 12-7 on February 27, 28, 06. And defeated Smiths Falls, Ontario in a 2-game total series, 6-5, 8-2 on March 68, 06. Now, the end of the streak came in March 06. Ottawa and the Wanderers tied for the ECAHA League lead in 06, forcing a playoff series for the league title and the cup. Montreal won the first game in Montreal 9-1, and in return, Ottawa replaced their goalie Billy Haig and used goaltender Percy Lisseur, formerly of Smiths Falls. Return match in Ottawa, overcame the 8-goal deficit, getting a 9-1 lead to tie the series by the midway point of the second. Harry Smith then scored to put Ottawa ahead, only have the goal ruled offside. It was then that Lester Patrick of the Wanderers took upon himself, scoring 2 goals to win the series by aggregate 12-10. This was Frank McGee's last game as he scored 2 goals. Now, besides McGee, future Hall of Fame players Billy Gilmore, Percy Levasseur, Harvey Pulford, Al Smith, Bruce Hutton, and Harry Westwick played for the Ottawas. Al Smith was also the coach. Other players of the 7 through that legacy included Arthur Allen, Dave Finney, Arthur Fraser, Horace Gall, Dave Gilmore, Sonny Gilmore, Jim McGee, Art Moore, Percy Sims, Hamby Shore, Charles Spittle, Frank White, and Frank Wood. Now, the club was able to continue the streak despite the death of one of its members. Jim McGee, Frank's brother, died after the 04 season in a horseback riding accident. He was also the Ottawa Football Club's captain at the time. The funeral cortege was estimated at a half-mile in length and included Canadian Prime Minister Wilfrid Laurier. Now, by the time the 07 season came about, it became literally a transition to a pro league. But what the Ottawa Silver Seven did was confirm there could be a dynasty within that major league, just like you would have in baseball and later pro football. And they technically were the first Canadian dynasty that we all learn about in school. And when the Montreal Canadiens, the Detroit Red Wings, Toronto Maple Leafs, the various squads, Edmonton Oilers were talking about dynasty in the back of our mind as media members and as fans, we thought of the Ottawa Silver Seven, because technically, ladies and gentlemen, they defeated all comers and did it with pride and excellence of execution, and could be as dirty or as the Montreal style, passing, shooting, scoring. They could do it all. Like I said, the way to play hockey, they could play every way of hockey. And I think as a nation, to have Ottawa 67s later on to represent the Ottawa region, kind of a tribute, and the Ottawa Senators coming back, kind of rekindled what the Ottawa Silver Seven meant to us. Now, in the history of Canadian sports, it's a top 10 team. I'm not a complete expert on the other sports, but if you're looking at a list of the top 10 greatest Canadian teams of all time, you can have the Montreal Canadiens, the Maple Leafs, the Blue Jays, the Eskimos, the Alouettes, and the Ottawa Silver Seven. So, I mean, you can't get any better than that. and they were a sensation, ladies and gentlemen. This was before Babe Ruth, before Jack Dempsey, before Joe Louis, what they called the cult of sports personality. They did it all. And again, look at the teams they bet. Montreal Victorias, the Rapport Irish Thistles, Winnipeg Rowing Club, Toronto Marlies, Montreal Wanderers, Brandon, Manitoba, Dawson City, Queens, and Smiths Falls. Everybody thrown in front of them they would defeat. So ladies and gentlemen, this is our latest in our Stanley Cup podcast. If you like what we're doing, give us a like, comment, or subscribe. And if you have any memories of, let's say, your ancestors talking about them going to games or following them as kids, let me know. We'd like to get input from you, the fans, because we do this for you on this channel. Thanks for listening. Bye.